be with all of you. I guess in some ways we just don't know exactly how we affect each other until we start opening ourselves to experience who we are. So, thank you for allowing me this time to share with you. I've been blessed in that I have been able to live the number of years that I have, outliving both of my parents respectively, so far as the age that they reached before they passed. So in a way, I consider every year that I live beyond them to be a blessing that I really didn't expect. But I didn't always feel that way. As a matter of fact, it's only been perhaps the last 15 years that it's really increasingly dawned on me. I used to live much of my life in experiencing pain, sadness, anger, where I felt as if my life were cramped, restricted, very uncomfortable. And I used to go about ways of trying to alleviate that, never ever really coming to a place of remedying it. And all the while, my unhappiness increased. I've always considered myself to be a pretty simple person. But I really didn't pay much attention to myself, but rather just lived what I was generating, what I was thinking, what I was feeling, and projected it out from me upon my environment. But I always had this drive in me that led me to try this, try that, try another, in an attempt to come to a place to where, even at the time, many times I didn't realize it, come to a place of being more at ease with me. Of course, I looked at it in many instances as trying to deal with who was in my life outside of me. You know how that is. You can go through one, you can go through another, you can go through a slew, and if you're still unhappy, then maybe it'll start registering with you, as it did with me. So, I started paying attention to myself but from a different perspective. I started watching myself. And of course, in the initial stages, all up until about 5 minutes ago, I would find that would be really challenging at times because I was so inclined to identify with who I was watching. But then I noticed that certain things remained the same. There were few, so far as my awareness was concerned. But I started connecting them with different techniques that I had read about, that I had heard about. And of course, one of them that helped me so much was breath. Because breath is always there. And it isn't there with any kind of opinion, attitude, and any preconceptions. It was just there and you did it. And it gave me a sense of relief. Because just paying attention to me did not always offer me relief. As a matter of fact, at times I thought it caused me more trouble than what I had been experiencing before I tried it. But then, as I practiced being present with my breath, I noticed that another part of me started showing up more and more. And this part of me, I could slip into. I could actually become this part of me and watch me. And in watching me, I began to realize I really was observing. And in my observation, I began to see with a growing clarity, I was not the thoughts that I thought. I was not the feelings that I felt. I was not the scenarios that played themselves in my awareness, that showed up on my inner screen, that seemed to affect me in such a way that it would color whatever showed up in my life. Well, over the years of practicing and living this other part of me, the witness observer part of me, I noticed that a few things actually happened. And one was, I started feeling more at ease with me. Because instead of identifying with everything that showed up in me, I began to disidentify with it. I began to see it just as something else. And with that, something that was so obvious that I had missed just exploded in my awareness. And that was habit. I always thought of habit as being left-handed, putting on my shoes and lacing them up a certain way, of brushing my teeth a certain way. It never dawned on me that the thoughts that I thought, the feelings that I had, the scenarios that I went through, revealed habits of somebody inside of me who resisted changing those habits. And then I became aware of ego. Oh boy. You'd think that that would be the most exciting, as well as the most liberating, as well as the most peaceful experience you can have. And it's a bitch. It really is. Because the ego does not like to be seen for who it is, for what it is. But then there's all this other growth that takes place, or at least it did with me, and is continuing to take place with me, with ego. At first, of course, I tried to fight it. I tried to make it do what I wanted it to do, and that just proved to be fruitless. But at the same time, another thing began to occur, and that is the inner sanctum that had turned into an inner prison began to shift. And into shifting, it began to take on my growing awareness as being able to look at myself and look at my life, look at the thoughts, the feelings, all of that with a sense of detachment. And what has happened from then to now is I've found that this has turned into my sanctuary. You see, it's a place where I can be in myself, with myself, and realize that all the stuff that's going on or isn't going on isn't me. I can make it about me, or I can disidentify with it and just let it be as it is. And in the process, I gain more focus. I actually find that my concentration improves, and my self-awareness increases. Not only does my sense of all of these increase, but who I am as a being. I'm able to let go of my insecurities, my less than sense of self, and realize that that too was an assumption. And it's only one that stayed alive in me as long as I kept identifying with it. And then through this process, it has actually brought about what you might say is an inner healing that then allows my sanctuary to have that much more cohesiveness to it. You know, things that kind of stick together and harmoniously. Sure, you have to stay there, or at least I do. I have to stay there and at times bring myself back to this place of simply observing. But as I do, I find that my head clears. And I'm really able to be present. I also notice that through the process, there are times when I say, well, I'm observing, I'm aware of what's going on, you pain in the wherever. And I'm then realizing ego always has been observing, but observing with judgment. And it's like an inner awakening that has helped me come to a place of keeping my sanctuary tidy, keeping it neat. Sometimes I'm a neat Nick anyhow, so that wasn't hard to come by. It's just a matter of applying it in myself, with myself, about myself, so that then the result is I can feel at ease with me. And while it takes practice, and I'm not trying to make it sound as if once you get there, then you're always there, I find that the more I live it, the less I am affected by things outside of myself. And the reason is because I'm less affected by the things inside of me. One of the things that also came up with this is that from my inner space, I can many times look and see that if you do something that affects me, it's because I was already affected. Or I was ready, willing, and able to be affected. But then again, sometimes it is about you. Just to see if you're paying attention. Normally, what we have really is a running movie of our lives. But because we're not paying attention, we don't realize it's the same script. Just different actors and different scenes. But if you do start paying attention as an observer and witness what's going on, you'll find that this observer part of you observes unconditionally and gives you really clear feedback as to who you are and what you're doing with who you are. So you find that this inner observer then gives you the ability to change the scripts. It doesn't matter who are the actors or the actresses. It doesn't matter what scenes are there. What matters is that you don't engage in it from the same unconscious script that you used to always put into play. You're able to actually step back. And if it requires nothing of you, then guess what? I do nothing. Even if I seem like I am nothing. It's okay. Whereas before, with my ego in charge, man, I always had to say something, do something. Because if I didn't, I felt like I was powerless. So my inner sanctuary hasn't transformed itself into an inner gymnasium. Not from the same perspective. But what it has given me is a greater sense of appreciation. Like I said in the beginning of this, while it's taken me all these years to come to this place that I am right now, whereas before I used to dread my life, now I'm so thankful that I have given myself the ongoing opportunity to live it, to get to this place where I have this appreciation. And I also have these gifts that have been given to me that I want to use. And I want to use them as a form of encouragement to you. That you come to realize wherever you are in your awakening, wherever you are in yourself with yourself, if you choose to be present with yourself as the witness and unconditionally observe you, it's going to give you insider information that you would never get any other way. So thank you for allowing me to share this with you today, and may we all be blessed. For more information about the Metaphysical Church of Enlightenment or the Rodin Foundation, please go to our website at www.rodin.org. If you have been inspired by the revelations shared in these podcasts, please donate to the Rodin Foundation's ongoing efforts to help others help themselves at www.rodin.org/donate.